and so disrespectful by just asking for money because he did the job.
Who is... Okay, I wasn't going to get into this, but Ariel is totally full of with this stuff. Like, what the are you talking about? No one is doing what you're saying. You're literally creating this. No one said Wonderboy is the bad guy. No one said that, dude. Dana did not say, like, you're creating nonsense. You're creating conflict that is not there. All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. So I've been doing a lot of coverage of this Wonderboy situation with the pay, and now we've got a bunch of new information coming out. Well, I wouldn't say we have a lot of clarity, but we do have Dana's statements about this situation, and now we've got everybody weighing in on it, and I think everyone's takes are incorrect now, bottom line. And if you've been watching my, watching my coverage of this, like, I absolutely defended Wonderboy's ability to not take that fight and, so on and so forth. Dana changed my mind, and I'll tell you exactly why. And we'll go through it, and I will qualify exactly what I'm saying, because I'm not saying that he should not make any money or anything like that. I'm not even saying that he should make less. Just give me a second to respond to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this fun because, there's been a lot of Ariel talk lately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to react to Ariel's take on this, because Ariel shows what Dana White said, and then he has a take, and then I'm going to respond to Ariel's take. And that's what we're going to do. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel, why don't you go ahead and do that? I appreciate it. If it was your channel and I was watching your content, I promise I would click the subscribe button. I would do it for you. So if you don't mind, it's the only analytic that I look at is if my subscribers are going up. That's the only thing I care about. So if you would like to contribute to that, feel free. I would appreciate it. All right. So let's start here, and then we will qualify this thing and jump into it.
And I don't think that everything that he said, I don't think that the picture that he painted was a fair and accurate one. Here are his comments from last night.
Now, obviously, we need to go into this knowing that Ariel's going to slam Dana no matter what, right?
In Las Vegas.
Wonderboy said that he wasn't paid for showing up. Is that something new in the contracts where, like, you don't have to make weight and get your show money? Or he also said that he didn't talk to you yet, so.
Right. So how that works is guys don't just get paid to not fight. It's not how that works. Guys have been paid. We've taken care of guys. Listen, if you come in and you're making short money, we take care of you. You come in and you don't fight. First of all,
pause it right there.
You decided not to fight. The guy was
so the very interesting thing about that comment there was if you're making short money. Meanwhile, like what he's trying to say,
So let me also just qualify what he's saying. He's saying that it's up to the UFC what they do, is what Dana said. Now, I told you guys in another video that I had a conversation with an extraordinarily educated person in this regard, very educated. And he shared with me that in certain states that he knows the laws to, he knows for sure that legally they would have to pay him the show money, and that there was a possibility, high possibility, that in Utah it's the same, and that technically via just his contract and the legal, statutes that are in Utah, that he would be owed the money either way. Not relevant necessarily, well, actually very relevant, but nonetheless, Dana's point is that, or not the point, but like what he's saying, what he's, read between the lines, what he's saying is it's up to the UFC what they do, is what Dana says. And so let's continue.
In other words is, if you're making 10 and 10, like, yeah, we'll break you off your 10. But if you're making whatever Wonderboy is making, let's say he says $250,000. So let's say it's $250,000. No. Now we're not going to pay you. Let's be very clear here. Wonderboy did nothing wrong. Wonderboy showed up and made weight and was
100% true. Fact. Did absolutely nothing wrong.
Ready to fight. He showed up ahead, missed weight. He's been in this situation before, Wonderboy. His opponent missed weight. He ended up losing a very close fight. Mm-hmm. And so he is in his right to say, no thanks. I signed on the dotted line to fight a guy who weighed 170 plus a 1 pound allowance. You come in at 173, it's no longer a welterweight fight.
Fact.
And the UFC sold all the tickets for this. It's impossible to know who bought a ticket just to see Wonderboy, but if you think for a second that paying Wonderboy just his show or 50% or whatever they agreed to, whatever it is, 2 weeks ago is sinking them when they have already allotted, they already have the budget figured out. So they know if this guy wins, it's going to...
This is an argument that's totally irrelevant. Like, whether it's going to sink the UFC or not, that's not relevant. Like, I don't like arguments like that where it's like, that's like the same as like, I don't know. It's like socialist shit. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, these guys are rich, so you should just give these guys money. Now, I'm not saying that Wonderboy is not entitled to the money, but I'm saying this particular argument where it's like, oh, they can afford it, man. Like, it's not going to sink them. It's a stupid argument. It's irrelevant, dude. That is just not relevant. That's not a relevant point.
Going to be this. If this guy wins, it's going to be this. If this guy loses, it'll be this. To walk away with zero, or to be told, hey, if you're making,
Nobody said that he's going to walk away with zero.
Entry-level stuff, we'll pay you.
And also, when you let me get to my point, you'll understand where I'm going with this. He's going to get his money.
But if you're a vet who's never missed weight, who's only been a model fighter / employee / whatever you want to call it, independent contractor, nah. You can't pick and choose is total hogwash. Let's continue.
Guy was 3 pounds overweight, whatever it was. You get a piece of his purse if you take the fight. But if you decide you don't want to take the fight, we also offered him another fight.
Pause it right there.
There's a much
This to
bigger
me blows
story.
me away. To just dismiss the 3 pounds.
He's not dismissing the 3 pounds. He's not dismissing the 3 pounds. That's not what he did. He said, you're offered a part of the other guy's purse if you take the fight. If you don't, we offer you another fight. He said he was offered another fight.
Like it's nothing.
How is that what Dana said? Did you guys hear Dana say that? That's not at all what Dana said.
Is so insensitive to fighters. You show
Now, if that is what he said, I would agree with Ariel's take. That's not what he said. It's not what he said. What Ariel's saying was exactly what my take was before, where it's like people who are yelling at Wonderboy for not taking the fight. It's ridiculous. Stupid. You're in no position to tell him what he should or shouldn't do. No, there's no one who's going to tell him he needs to take a fight when the other guy missed weight. We're all aligned here. The point is where we're going. And again, I am well aware that I see these situations because I've run companies. I see these situations both ways. Anyway, we'll continue. Hang on.
up and make weight. If the 3 pounds meant nothing, then why do we strip Charles Oliveira? If the 3 pounds mean nothing, why do we even have weight classes?
Who said the 3 pounds mean nothing? No one.
Let's just agree upon like some random weight. You can't just dismiss that. Wonderboy showed up. He was the professional. He made weight. The other guy didn't. And then you say he gets a percentage of the purse. Yeah, that's in the contract. Great. Okay. It's a percentage of the purse. How much is it? 10K? 20K?
It's 35% of the other guy's purse or 25% of the other guy's purse. It's either 25 or 35% of the other guy's purse.
Really? For a guy who's 40 years old and is making a...
Who said it's 10K? Now he's just pulling, he's just talking nonsense. There's no one said that number. He just made up a number.
$250,000, if that's what it is, that's not, you're still having to fight the guy and you still lose and you still get the L and you still go backwards and you still lose out on opportunities X, Y, and Z. So to say, oh yeah, you're just going to get a penalty from the guy and that will be all well and good, that's ridiculous.
That's not the point. The point is it's an extra incentive if you take the fight. That's what it is. You say, look, you don't have to take the fight, but if you do, the penalty to this guy is 35% of his purse, and you get that 35%. So you're incentivized to take it. He's penalized for missing weight. That's what that is.
He wants it to be fair, and he showed up and made weight. It should be, if you show up and step on that scale and make weight, you are entitled to X amount if your opponent doesn't make weight. No one's saying you show up on the scale, make weight, you should get paid before the fight if the fight happens. No one's saying that. But
what? That's exactly what you're saying.
If the fight is not a fair fight, if he is not showing up at his contracted weight, there should be something. And again, it's ultimately Wonderboy and his team's fault and every fighter's fault that they don't have this in writing. You can't cry about spilled milk if you don't have this in writing.
This is a fair point.
What I'm saying is this should be in writing. If you have a manager, if you're discussing a new deal, every contract is different. It should be, hey, if I make weight and my opponent doesn't, I have every right to say thanks but no thanks, and I want to get paid X amount because I made weight and you promoted me on this card, and now I'm not on the card because of someone else, not me. Continue.
Much bigger story behind the scenes.
There is no bigger story. Pause it right there. There is no bigger story behind the scenes. One guy made weight.
The bigger story behind the scenes, obviously, that he's referring to is they offered him another fight, and that's where we're going to go with my point about this entire thing. Because like I said, I am not saying that they should just be able to not pay Wonderboy. That's not my point at all. That is not my point at all.
One guy didn't. The guy who made weight didn't want to fight the guy who was overweight. That's the story. And then he's talking about we offered you another fight. What is this? Rock'em Sock'em Robots? Like, what? to suggest that the guy who just made weight is now going to have to rehydrate, train for 2 weeks, peaked. Like, we've been in this business for 20 years here. To have that little respect for the...
Okay, so this is where we're going to differ. Like this, because here's the point that I was going to make, that Dana made. It's like, okay, so let's say $250,000, right? Let's say that's his, let's say he makes 500, 500 show and win, right? Okay, so $250,000 to show, $250,000 to win. So he shows up, he makes weight. Pereira does not. And they're like, look, man, so you can either take this fight right now. He makes 80 and 80. So, you get whatever, you'll get $25,000 additional. If you take the fight, you don't have to, and if you don't, we'll find you another fight, right? He just did a camp, right? He's in amazing shape. Now, no one's saying, like, this is the fight business, dude. No one's saying that this is ideal, obviously. Like, no one is saying this is a good situation. But what Dana's saying, and now I agree with him on, is he's like, dude, we're not just going to pay you to not fight. We're saying, like, here's another opponent. Like, we're literally handing you another opponent. Whether, and believe me, I understand. It's like, oh, he's about to fight Alex Pereira. And then all of a sudden they're all, oh, here's Shavkat instead. I mean, that's obviously fucked up too, right? Like, that's not a good situation. But again, we're in the fight. So they're like, hey, man, we've got this one right here. We got this one right here. We got this one right here. That's in 2 weeks. So let's say that they book Wonderboy in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? So they pay him the $250K here, and then they're going to pay him another $250K here, and then another $250K. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying he should get nothing at all. I'm not saying he should get nothing. But what I'm saying is, like, there's a lot more validity to, like, what Dana's saying than just like, oh, he's just fucking the fighters. It's like, no, what he's saying is he still could have fought for an additional amount of money. And then if he didn't, we will find another fight for him in the short term. We'll offer him another fight. We'll offer him 2 other fights. We'll find a way for him to fight in the short term. It's $250,000, like, it's $250,000. Not like it's nothing. And, like, yeah, they can afford it. But, dude, they want to get a fight out of it. If they want to pay someone $250,000, like, they want to get a fight out of it. It's unfortunate that his fucking, that his opponent showed up overweight, and Wonderboy is completely within his rights to not fight. And if you watch my first video, right, the very first video that I did about this, I said at the end, I said Pereira, fuck Pereira for this. Because now you have this guy who went through this whole camp. He made weight, did everything right. Now he doesn't have a fight, and he's not going to get paid. So, like, to me, like, I never thought that they were getting the show money if they didn't fight. Like, that was new to me, that they might actually get it sometimes. And then I found out from Senko that it's like, it's sometimes it's like up case by case. It's like a case by case basis, Now, do I think that that's a good, like, I don't like willy-nilly fucking contractual, language. That's shit contractual language. Anything that is up to, like, discretion of blah, blah, blah that involves that amount of money is garbage, unless you're the organization. Okay? Of course the organization wants it to be like, well, we can just decide what we do. So, like, Ariel's point on that is 100% accurate. It's like, dude, the UFC just decides. They just decide, like, they have carte blanche to decide, like, what happens with, when someone makes weight. If they don't decide they don't want to fight, they just decide. Like, yeah, that's garbage. It's stupid. It's good attorneys on the UFC, shit attorneys on the fighters. Bottom line. And it is another symptom of the fighters not having any leverage whatsoever. Because if a single fighter is like, hey, man, it's bullshit, I want to, if it's a really big fighter. But it's the same thing, dude. Honestly, same thing. So let's say you're Israel Adesanya. They're going to, and, like, as a matter of fact, this is a perfect way to put this. So Israel Adesanya, let's say his base salary is $3 million, right? So Israel Adesanya, his base is $3 million. I think it's actually more than that. I'm pretty sure it's like 3.5. But let's just say it says $3 million. Okay. The other guy shows up. He doesn't make weight. Okay. He's over by 3 or 4 pounds. Right? He's over by 3 or 4 pounds. Izzy is completely within his rights to not take the fight. Okay? He's the main event of the card. He says, look, man, I don't feel comfortable taking this fight with this guy this many pounds overweight. Cool. UFC's still going to pay him $3 million? Does that seem at all reasonable to you guys? Seriously. Because this is the whole thing. The reason, like this is the whole reason why it's complicated. It's like, and where just blanket, language doesn't make any sense. You can't just do it. Like, you have to do it that way. And that's, I guess case by case. I don't know, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a tough situation because there's no fucking way the UFC should have to pay Israel Adesanya $3 million if he shows up, makes weight, and then he doesn't fight. That doesn't make any sense. Of course they shouldn't have to fucking pay him that. It's just 250,000 is this weird little in-between number where it's like, okay, so if it's, if these guys are making 20K, it's like, dude, let's just do the right thing. Of course, the guy made the weight. He needs the fucking money. Give him the $20,000. The show is not broken by him not fighting. But then go to the other extreme, right? $3 million base out. You're telling me just fucking write him a check for $3 million when he didn't fight? That's stupid. That's fucking stupid. Of course they're not going to do that. Doesn't make any sense, dude. Now, 250,000 is, to his point, not going to break the bank. But nonetheless, it still falls into the category of, Wonderboy is not a charity case. Wonderboy's got money. He's not like, he's not worried about how he can feed his family. And so for them, they're like, look, dude, we'll get you another fight really quick. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it's not like you're not missing out on eating just because, like, you're not fighting today. Like, we'll get you another fight. Like, here, what about this guy? You don't like that one. All right, well, what about this guy? Oh, I don't like that one. Okay. All that's happening is you're just pushing out the date, right? If they offer him this one and it's in the short term, good. He gets to go fight right there. If he doesn't like that fight, all right, well, listen, if you don't like that fight, we'll find you another one. It's just that one's going to be in a month. And if you don't like that one, well, this one's in 2 months, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like this is not, like, Dana's not wrong here. He's not wrong. And if you only look at it in the single individual, like the one thing, it's bullshit, he made weight, he should get paid. Yeah, of course. Look at it as a total and then imagine it's Israel Adesanya with a $3 million base. And then they're like, no, we're offering you another fight in a month. No, I want the $3 million right now. Then I want the $3 million when I fight in a month. It's fucking ridiculous. Wonderboy would tell you it's ridiculous. Honestly. I guarantee you Wonderboy would be like, it's true. In the Israel Adesanya example, that is ridiculous. Like, of course, no one's going to expect the UFC to pay fucking $3 million just because I made weight. If the other guy, if I chose not to fight because the other guy missed weight. I guarantee it. Ask it. Wonderboy will watch this. Wonderboy, in the comments, would that be reasonable for the UFC to pay Israel Adesanya $3 million if his opponent missed weight and he's like, no, I don't want to fight? And again, I completely defend Wonderboy's ability to not take the fight. If he didn't want that, he shouldn't take it. But these are two separate issues, man. Two separate issues. Let's continue.
The process. You don't just show up 2 weeks later. That's not how this works against a brand new opponent. Oh, you could take another fight in 2 weeks.
You can. It's the fight business. It's not perfect. Because guess what? Whoever he's going to be fighting in 2 weeks wasn't preparing for him either.
Against who? Who's the matchup? What is it? A Shavkat Rakhmonov? Is it someone else who I didn't prepare for?
Yeah, that's a tough matchup.
Is it a orthodox guy when I was preparing for a southpaw?
Well, the other guy's not going to be prepared for Wonderboy either. If he takes it on 2 weeks, was the other guy preparing for Wonderboy? No, it's on even ground.
Like, what are the circumstances? And, oh, by the way, I have to cut weight a second time. Second time in 2 weeks for a 40-year-old guy.
It's not ideal. Obviously, it's not ideal. It's the fucking fight business.
We're just pretending like all that doesn't matter. There is no other part of the story here. That's what you guys don't understand.
Yes, there is. I just gave it to you. Dude, this is what I'm saying, man. This is what I'm saying. This is where, and I really had no intention of bringing politics into this at all. But this is where people like me and people like Ariel politically just find ourselves at an impasse. It's like, no, the UFC has all the money in the world. Like, so it's not fair. Just give him the money. And I'm like, no, listen, if he's desperate, of course you take care of him. You don't be a fucking asshole. But if the guy's a millionaire, right? He's a fucking millionaire. And he's like, I don't want to take this fight. And you're like, we'll find you one in 4 weeks. What? Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, Wonderboy will agree with me. Wonderboy will agree with me. I will bet you $1 million fucking dollars I'll make someone else a millionaire if I'm wrong. Wonderboy will agree with me. That if the UFC is just offering him fight after fight after fight over the next, 3-4 weeks, that it'd be fucking stupid to expect to just get paid if he's about to take another fight. Wonderboy hasn't even complained about this.
Dan, the other part of the story is they tried to say, hey, we'll give you a fight in 2 weeks and we'll pay for that fight. Well, what about the fight that I just had? What about the fight that I was just supposed to have? What about all the expenses leading up to that fight?
Listen, dude. Again, no one is saying this is an ideal situation, obviously. No one is saying that. But the expenses are then paid for by the fight, which he takes in the short, very, very short term. They're going to get him another fight very quickly. That's what Dana's saying. And what Dana said is if they can't, then they'll figure something out in terms of compensation for this one. That's what Dana said. Dana said we're gonna offer him other fights, and if at the end of the day we can't get him another fight, then we'll figure something out. That's what Dana said.
Fight. Now you're offering me 2 fights, but there's one that I'm not getting paid for. Continue.
He didn't do what? He didn't do 2 he didn't do 2 fights. You're offering me 2 fights and one I didn't get paid for. Okay, again, he had the opportunity to fight. This is such a stupid argument. He had the opportunity to fight. He chose not to, which is totally fine. Which is completely fine. But they're acting as if the UFC is trying to get 2 fights for one is fucking stupid. That's just, you know what I mean? If he ends up not getting a short-term fight booked, then they'll figure something out. Like Dana said. Now, look, again, obviously in an ideal scenario, you have contractual certainty. But just keep coming back to the Israel Adesanya example. You want to pay him $3 million because he made weight, and then he's the main event, and he doesn't fucking fight. You still give him $3 million.
And no, you don't just show up and say, "Yeah, I'm not going to fight. I want $250,000."
Do you see the way this is being positioned?
It hasn't worked that way for anybody.
It's being positioned the way it is.
Pause.
So what we do is we try to get you.
It has worked that way, but everything is loosey goosey, and one situation never bleeds into the other because they don't pay attention to precedents. But you see the way this is positioned. Wonderboy, the nicest motherfucker on the roster.
Irrelevant. Ariel, if you see this, do you think Israel Adesanya should make $3 million if he doesn't take the fight because his opponent missed weight, if he's the main event? You're talking about precedent, right? We're talking about precedent. So from a precedent standpoint, do you agree with that?
Is being positioned as the bad guy here. Why? Because he is being so callous and so disrespectful by just asking for money because he did the job.
Okay, I wasn't going to get into this, but Ariel is totally full of shit with this stuff. What the fuck are you talking about? No one is doing what you're saying. You're literally creating this. No one said Wonderboy is the fucking bad guy. No one said that, dude. Dana did not say, you're creating fucking nonsense. You're creating conflict that is not there, dude.
He showed up. Half the battle. Oh, you don't just show up and ask for $250,000. It's not how it works. Is that really what he did? If you didn't know any better, you would think that Wonderboy made weight and said, you know what? I'm out of here.
No, what it is that he made weight and then they offered him to still fight. He said no. They offered him another fight. He said no. And so Dana's like, dude, we don't just show up and here, give me $250,000. I'm not even going to fight. The point that I'm making is that Wonderboy is not even on the other side of this argument. Okay? Dana is talking to a fucking press person who asked him a question. Where they're like, hey, dude, has he not gotten paid? And Dana's like, dude, you don't just show up and fucking make $250,000 when he didn't even fight. He's talking to the fucking journalist. He's not talking to Wonderboy. The way he's answering is in response to the journalist. He's not saying fucking, oh, Wonderboy, oh, what, Wonderboy, you just want that money? Wonderboy didn't even fucking ask for the money. He specifically said he hadn't even talked to Dana. He doesn't know what's going on yet. That's what Wonderboy said. So all of this is literally, this is conflict that does not exist. I got into it with someone about this today, dude, where it's I'm not going to do this on the channel again, but a specific fucking thing that I had argued with people about before where they were like, oh, dude, you barred a derp. I'm like, who's the victim? Right now, who's the victim? Who is the victim here? Okay? The person you're pretending like you're trying to protect is saying that the only thing that's victimizing it is you talking about it. Okay? You're not protecting anyone. No one, like, fucking Wonderboy's not asking for protection on this. If he came public and he was like, listen, I don't think it's right that I didn't get paid for this, whatever, fine. Then we're having a different conversation. But as of this moment, that is not what's happened at all.
No, that's not what happened. Wonderboy made weight and was going to fight on Saturday. His opponent didn't make weight and had an advantage. That's fighting. No thanks. I signed on the dotted line to fight a guy who weighs 171 max, not 173. Every pound matters. And if you don't appreciate that, and I know he does, what are we doing as the head of the biggest organization in the world?
Okay, you want to know the example that I could put into perspective for a journalist, okay? So you get hired for a job, okay? You get hired to do this commentating job. It's supposed to be from 7 p.m. to fucking midnight, right? You fly yourself out there. You spent the money to get out there. You bought a new suit. You spent the money to do all this stuff, and you're going to get paid whatever to do it. You get there, okay? You get there, and they're like, hey, man, listen, it turns out like we had to shift the event. It's tomorrow night, okay? It's tomorrow night. Well, fuck, dude, I can't do tomorrow night. I'm flying out in the morning, okay? I mean, listen, dude, you don't have to do it, and we apologize. I mean, listen, dude, we're going to make this right. We're going to do, like, there's another event in 2 weeks. We're going to have you do that event, you know. I know you prepared for this event, but we're going to do that event. And then you come back, you do this one. We'll pay you exactly what we had discussed, whatever. Or you can just do this one, which is right here in front of you, even though it's not under ideal situation. Like, you can still do it right now, but if you can't do it tomorrow, then yeah, we'll figure it out. And it's like, no, I want to not do it, get paid for this one, and then also get paid down there. Like, again, I'm not saying that Wonderboy is not owed money for cutting weight and making weight. What I'm saying is that if he is being offered another fight in the short term, that solves this problem. Because what the solve in and the time of the fight, right? So you wanted to give him the time of the fight, the way that it was solved is you can still fight and you'll make more money if you do fight. And if you still say no, then we'll find you a fight in the short term. If we can't figure out a fight in the short term, then we can talk about solving this.
It's crazy. It's crazy to be that insensitive to maybe the best and nicest and most respected guy on the roster. Like,
there is nothing about this that is disrespectful to Wonderboy at all. And no one has any idea what they're talking about. If Wonderboy, like, again, I hate the like virtue signaling stuff where it's like, that's all of this looks like to me. Okay. If Wonderboy hasn't made a thing out of it, then pretending like you're outraged is just virtue signaling. If Wonderboy has talked to Ariel and he's like, listen, I really need you to campaign for me, then I completely retract this. But if this is just like he made weight, he should get paid, and it's like, I mean, listen, dude, I agree that he should get paid. He should get paid. But if he's got another, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Well, I've already repeated this 100 times because it just seems so fucking obvious to me. Anyway, actually, you know what? I've probably been talking long enough, and I have a feeling that Ariel is just going to repeat himself. Anyway, so the final question that I will pose to all of you is this. Do you think that Israel Adesanya should get paid $3 million if he doesn't fight the guy who missed weight? $3 million. Just give him the $3 million and then book him again next month. Of course not. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Wonderboy, if you disagree, actually, either way, Wonderboy, hit me up, dude. Let's chat. I DM'd you on Instagram. Peace.